to tell you about the books that I read in June. This is probably going to have to be 2 parts because I've managed to read 6 books in June, going on 7. I have about less than 100 pages left of another book, so like I said, I probably have to do a couple parts because I loved all of these, so I'm gonna ramble about them. So I guess you'll see that the 7th book that I'm gonna finish in part 2 potentially, if not in a like completely separate video on its own. These are in no particular order. These are just how I had them stacked on like my read this month shelf. So the first book I want to talk about is The Ghostwood Song. I saw this on Books and Lala. Yeah, Books and Lala's YouTube a few months back, actually, like I think like last summer, and it sounded really good. She described it as like a spooky YA with like some ghost twists, like ghost stories, like maybe Ghost Whisperer, she might have said that, which I did totally get that. Like it definitely had some sort of Ghost Whisperer vibes. But the thing is, like, the main character, Shady Grove, can talk to ghosts, but it's really cool because it was like no other like spooky ghost story YA that I've ever read. Like she was able to call the ghosts with her dad's fiddle. And the whole premise of the book is that she can do this, but throughout most of the book she has no idea where the fiddle is or if it's even still intact. And she her stepdad is murdered, and so she sets out to try and find the fiddle so that she can raise his ghost and ask him who his murderer was, and clear her brother's name, because the entire town thinks that her brother did it because, ow, she just bit me. The entire town thinks that Shady's brother did it because he's kind of, well, the town thinks he's a delinquent, which by the stereotype he technically is, like, but he's like hurting because their dad died a few years ago, and so he's still grieving from that, and so obviously he's reacting in the only way that he knows how, and so the town sees him as like the troubled child from a broken family. So obviously he is the like leading suspect in this murder case because he hated his stepdad and he's a bad kid. So yeah, but I really loved this. It was a great YA. If you like YA in general, I suggest reading this because it had everything that a YA should have. I think like there was a love interest, actually a couple love interests, like it was more like a love triangle, which I feel like is pretty typical and can get boring in YA since a lot of books do that, but this one made it really interesting and fun. It was spooky, but not like super spooky. Like it was just a fun book, and I loved that it incorporated a lot of like folklore, especially like southern / Florida folklore and like bluegrass kind of stuff, like the music and the folklore behind the songs and all of that kind of stuff, and like how the songs are passed down from generation to generation. Yeah, this was just a great book. I highly suggest it. It is also a pride book because the main character is a lesbian, so that was really cute. I didn't expect that. I didn't know that going into the book, but I thought it was great and it was really well done. So yeah, I highly recommend this book. It was just super cute, and it was a really quick read. I did listen to it while I read along whenever I had a chance to sit down and actually read it, and I loved it. And the narrator did a fantastic job. She had a great southern twang to her voice, which really helped me imagine the character in the book, or the whole cast, because the whole cast obviously had a southern twang. So I really enjoyed that. The next book that I want to talk about is another book set in the South, there's a theme here this month. I tend to read books about summer during summer, and a lot of those seem to be set in the South. Like, that is what I guess I think of when I think of summertime. So the next book that I want to talk about is Whistling Past the Graveyard. I actually got this in a mystery grab bag from Indie Reads, which is one of my local bookstores, which is actually, I don't know if they're a non-profit, but a lot of their profits go towards like literacy and like how to write resumes and like that, those kind of classes for adults and I guess kids too. So that was kind of cool. But this was in a mystery grab bag. I remember reading the synopsis on this like years ago when it came out. Excuse me, my allergies are still acting up. And I put it down because it didn't sound like something I would be interested in at the time. But I'm really glad that this was actually in that grab bag because I enjoyed it so much. I actually listened to this rather than like read it physically, but I had the physical copy, obviously. I loved the narrator's voice. Again, she had, like, this was a different narrator from that one, but she also had a southern twang, which was great. Because, like, again, all the characters are supposed to be southern, and so they're supposed to have the kind of that twang to their voice. But this book follows a little girl named Starla, who is 9 in 1963, and a woman named Eula. And Starla has run away from home because she is convinced that the cops are going to be after her for something that she did. And her grandmother is not very nice. Like, to be totally honest, she's quite abusive, at least mentally and sometimes physically. So she runs away for some small, minuscule problem that no one else would ever care about, that but would probably be a very big deal to her grandmother. So she runs away, and along the way, before she even gets out of town, she runs into Eula, who is a black woman with a white baby. And Starla has never seen this before, but she figures that Eula is like a nanny, and she's just taking care of the baby for the parents while they're away, like celebrating the 4th of July, because this is all occurring during like 4th of July weekend. And so she discovers this. And Eula's like, well, you can't go like all the way to Nashville alone, because that's where Starla intends to go. She is trying to get to Nashville to be reunited with her mother, who went there to be famous and all of that kind of stuff. And along the way, they just like keep running into trouble and dealing with a lot of prejudice, because it's a black woman traveling with 2 white children, and people are obviously very cautious about that, or very rude about it, because it's the 60s. So the civil rights movement is happening, and they just run into all kinds of trouble. And it really educates Starla on what Eula has to face every day and what her people have to face every day. And just like that they aren't treated equally. And so she really starts to stand up for Eula, because she starts to see her as a mother figure, because she is taking care of her this whole time they're on their way to Nashville. It winds up being like a 2-week trip because of everything that they keep running into. So I really love this book. I thought it was great. Like, it was a great way to teach about that, because it was seeing this through a 9-year-old's eyes and realizing how messed up it was, and how messed up it still is in a lot of places. Like, this was just great. It was a great educational book. I think this would be great for a teenager to read. It is an adult book, but honestly, like, have your teenagers read it so that they can understand better, like, how to treat each other. I just thoroughly enjoyed this. Highly recommend it, and a lot of my family members want to like borrow it now, so it's just really, really good. So highly recommend it. The next book that I want to talk about is A Dog's Journey. I know. I think this is the second book in the series. The first book was A Dog's Purpose, which became a movie, if you're not aware, and then I believe A Dog's Journey also became a movie. These books are super popular, and the movies are obviously super popular too. So basically, in both A Dog's Purpose and A Dog's Journey, this dog is like assigned a person at birth, and it's his job to take care of that person until, and the dog keeps being reincarnated or reborn into a different body and finding the same person and taking care of him. So in this book, the same dog is reborn over and over and taking care of not the same person, but that person's granddaughter. So that was really cool. I picked up this book. It was in the same mystery grab bag as Indie Reads, and I'd been like putting it off because I knew it was gonna make me cry. And a couple weeks ago, I decided, I was like, I'm feeling really down. I could use a good cry. So I picked this up, and I mostly listened to it, and I did sob because obviously the dog, the whole point is that the dog dies and is reborn, and some of the circumstances in which the dog died were really, really sad, and so I sobbed. And then the ending, the end of the book was very sad as well, but it was kind of a happy ending. They were at peace at the end, but it was sad. So, but I needed a good cry, so this was a good book for that. So I guess if you need a book to make you cry, then read this one, or listen to it, or just listen or read to this series or watch the movies, because that'll do it. Yeah, so so I'm gonna have to talk about the other books in part 2. So I will tell you about that one that I'm about to finish probably tonight, in the next video. So I guess I will see you again soon. So that is part 1 of the books that I read in June. So if you enjoyed what you saw, it would be super great if you would hit like and subscribe, so that you can see some more of my content, and follow me on Instagram. That link will be in the description, along with the Amazon links for all of the books. So see you soon, I guess. Bye.